It is 8:19 in the evening in Los Angeles, California on Tuesday, January 12th, and we are going to give you the earthquakes that have happened during the last 24 hours and then the forecast for over 30 different countries around the world. And we're going to start with the quakes in the last 24 hours. And here we go. 30, no, it's not 40 different earthquakes now in the last 24 hours. And you can see these ones in the red are during the last hour. And we got a 5.9 over here in eastern Indonesia during the last 24 hours. All right, over in Chile, we got two quakes, a 4.1 and a 4.9. Both of those hit in our 60 and 65% risk area. And in Central America, we had two quakes down here west of Guatemala. And those occurred in this 85% risk area. And we have a 4.3 earthquake that hit off the northwest coast of Petrolia, California in the northwest. And another smaller one, 2.7 and a 2.9, but the biggest one was a 4.3. And they were in our 80 to 85% risk area. We talked about these yesterday as well, that forecast area. In Alaska, we got this 4.5 down in Sand Point, Alaska. And that was down here in this 55 to 60% risk area. And nothing in Japan and Taiwan. And we got this quake in northwest Manila. And we were talking about that yesterday. The far northwest is the only really risk area in all of Philippines. And that's where that quake hit offshore there. And in Greece, we got some significant quakes here, 5.2, 4.7, and 4.7 in Western Greece. And that's exactly where our risk was in Western Greece. These hit in the 60 to 65% risk area. So now we're going to go over the forecast maps for the 30 different countries. We're going to start with California. This risk in the northwest begins to shift over to the eastern and southeastern portion of California during the next 12 to 24 hours. 4.0 earthquake is possible in southern Nevada or southeast California during the 12th to the 13th. And here it is, the 13th into the 14th, we could get a 4.5 to 5.5 significant earthquake in east central California from Mina, Nevada to Mammoth Lakes, Lone Pine, Ridgecrest, even down to Barstow. It's even possible in Los Angeles or the Palm Springs area, but most likely in East Central California near Mammoth Lakes, Lone Pine, and Ridgecrest. So watch for that during the next, the 13th into the 14th of January. And after that, the risk begins to dissipate in that area. So a significant earthquake, 4.5 to 5.5 is likely during the next about 36 to 48 hours in Eastern California or Southeast California or West Central Nevada. All right, let's go to Alaska. And that is from the 12th. This one's pretty much ending here, the 12th. Still significant risk across this area to Moresby Island to Kodiak. And then the 12th into the 13th is where we are right now. The risk begins to be more in Juneau to Ketchikan to Moresby Island. And the 13th into the 14th, that risk begins to diminish. And this is significant here. 14th into the 15th, we could get a 5.0 earthquake or larger in the Juneau, Alaska area down to Ketchikan. So the risk really rises there on the 14th into the 15th of January. In Chile, risk is up in the northeast portion of Chile, eastern Antofagasta, 11th and the 12th, and we're more into this forecast right now, the 12th into the 13th. So northeast Chile, and then the risk begins to build northwest of Santiago here, south of La Serena and east of La Serena. And then on the 13th into the 14th, Far northwest Argentina and far northeast Chile, 85% risk there. And then here, southeast of Santiago, Chile, and 80% risk there. Significant risk here in western Argentina, east of La Serena, here in western Argentina, 85%, and then 95% risk down southeast of Santiago in western Argentina on the 14th and 15th of January. Italy, we're still watching and waiting for a significant earthquake in this area near Pescara. That risk area has been building for the last week or so now. And the 12th into the 13th, very high risk in central Italy. And the 13th and 14th, still high risk across central Italy. And then on the 14th and the 15th, very high risk across from Pescara over to Naples. Very high risk in this central, kind of a south central part of Italy. So watch for that in the 14th into the 15th. Japan, the risk has been diminishing since our big 5.9 in the north. The risk right now, the 12th into the 13th. Actually, right now it's around noon, I believe, on the 13th. So the risk is from like Iwaki, Ibaraki, Chiba, Tokyo, down to Shizuoka, this area of east central Japan for the next 12 to 24 hours. And then that risk begins to diminish and pull offshore. And then it diminishes even further on the 14th into the 15th. So during the next 12 to 24 hours, a 5.0 to 5.5 is possible offshore or close to Chiba or Ibaraki during the next 12 to 24 hours. In the Philippines, again, the risk in the far northwest and then west central, small risk there. 13th into the 14th, pretty quiet. 14th and the 15th, very quiet. So it's very quiet across the Philippines, except for the far north here. So it has been for the last week or so. In the country of Greece, western Greece right now, 13th into the 14th. And the 14th into the 15th, northern Albania. Northern Albania could get a significant earthquake on the 14th into the 15th. 4.5 to 5.0 is possible up there. Central America, the risk is now down here in eastern Panama and western Colombia. Again here, eastern Panama and western Colombia on the 12th into the 13th. 13th into the 14th, which is tomorrow. The risk is more offshore here. 14th to the 15th, offshore as well. Pretty quiet on the 13th through the 15th, actually, in Central America. The Peruvian Ecuador forecast, 65% across Ecuador. The highest risk is in northwest Peru here on the 11th and the 12th. And now into the 12th into the 13th is the forecast more right for right now. Northern Peru into Colombia, a 4.0 to 5.0 is possible there. And then that risk becomes less on the 13th into the 14th, and even less on the 14th into the 15th. Kind of pulls offshore here, 80% risk offshore Ecuador. So the highest risk looks like during the next 24 hours or so in northern Peru. Indonesia. So we are looking at right now, it is the 13th over there. So southern Sumatra could get a 5.0 in southern Sumatra here. And then the 14th into the 15th, we could get a quake north of Jakarta or even in Jakarta. 4.5 to 5.0 is possible. North of Jakarta or close to Jakarta here. This is very high risk in that area of Western Java and southern Sumatra and 85% offshore. But this looks like the highest risk on the 14th into the 15th of January. A 4.5 to 5.5 is possible north of Jakarta, Indonesia. And Taiwan, The risk is more up in the Ryukyu, northern Ryukyu Islands. 13th to the 14th, also up in the Ryukyu Islands. And the 14th into the 15th, moderately high risk in the western portion of Taiwan. All right, in the Caribbean. All right, this is more of an older forecast there. It looks like 11th to the 12th. Still risking, I guess we're still in the 12th. Northern Puerto Rico and British Virgin Islands, and that diminishes. Then 13th to the 14th. Southeast Caribbean. And then on the 14th into the 15th, also down in the Southeast Caribbean, 4.0 to 4.5 is possible. All right, we've been waiting for a quake in northwest of Seattle. This is now pretty much expired for that forecast. And like in Italy, sometimes you get a peak in risk like this, and then the quake will hit 4 or 5 days later when the risk builds up again. So keep an eye out for this area northwest of Seattle in further forecasts. You can see on the 12th and the 13th that risk builds in there again to 85%. But keep an eye out during the next week or so for that area. 13th into the 14th, looks like 3.5 is possible in southeast Oregon. And 14th and 15th of January, it looks like it moves off to Montana. The Turkey and Syria and Iraq forecast. We are more into this forecast here. The risk is down in Iran and Iraq right now. 13th into the 14th, down in Iraq, 80%. 14th into the 15th, the risk begins to build into western Turkey, west of Istanbul, 70, 80% there on the 14th and 15th. And we will keep an eye on that. Hawaii, and that's an older forecast, 13th into the 14th, kind of quiet. And here's a significant event going on here on the 14th and 15th. We could get a 5.0 quake in the northern portion of the Hawaiian Islands. We have to keep an eye on this. It might end up over this area. But right now it's centered over the, this hot spot here is centered over the western or northern portion of Hawaii. 4.5 to 5.5 is possible in northern Hawaii on January 14th or 15th. Keep an eye out for that. New Zealand. Risk is offshore northern New Zealand and west central New Zealand on the 12th into the 13th. 13th into the 14th, west central New Zealand. And then on the 14th and 15th, 4.5 is possible in the far south of New Zealand. Once again, in California, the risk in Northwest California, which we've got that 4.3 and the 3.5 and such, is now moving into East Central and Southeast California during the next 24 to 48 hours. And on the 13th and the 14th, expecting a significant earthquake, 4.5 to 5.5, from Mena, Nevada to Mammoth Lakes down into Lone Pine, Ridgecrest, and Barstow, and even possibly in the LA area here, or even the Salton Sea. Watch for something significant in East Central California or Southeast California or West Central Nevada during the next 48 hours, most likely on the 13th into the 14th. Once again, thank you so much for joining us here tonight on this Tuesday evening. And we will be talking to you again on Wednesday, January 13th. And we'll see what happens in California. We'll keep an eye on that for you. Thank you for subscribing. Please hit the subscribe button. And we're back every evening between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. every night Pacific time. And we'll keep you updated, keep you safe, keep you informed about where the quakes are occurring. It looks like a pretty high risk in central Italy and that East Central California as well. And we'll keep you updated around the world, 30 different countries now. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you tomorrow, Wednesday, January 13th. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon.